And here we can see that Professor Hilprecht has proven that the name of the floodship was called Maguru, just as Dr. Shopov mentioned. And as some we know, we have such a cave Magura. We also see that it is mentioned many times by Hilprecht. The professor also proves that Kurti is today's Kurds living in Turkey, Iran and Syria. But we will not stop knowing their genetics, that it is very close to the Bulgarian from the site Upedia, who is in another video of the genes of Bulgarians and Europeans. Like the Turks and Iranians, they have very close genetics with the Bulgarians. The Magura Cave in Bulgarian, Magura Cave, is located in northwestern Bulgaria, near the village of Rabisha, 25 kilometers from the town of Belogradchik in Vidin region. Magura's prehistoric murals have a great resemblance to those from Grotta dei Cermen in Italy. And in this cave are the most ancient Cyrillic inscriptions that will have another video. But the date is incredible. Here is a book that only has it on Google Books on their site, and can be purchased on the Indian Pathot Moga Ranja Punja Indius, Legacy du Old Heritage. Because you can only look for it in it, I found this on the screen precisely that the Guti dynasty is dated 3800 BC. We use another book about the origin of the Mesopotamian peoples, as shown the title page of the screen. The book is by Ephraim Spaler, issued by the University of Pennsylvania. On page 114 we see both Dr. Shopov and Sohadze mention that there is a name of a Guti king and his name is Tirakan. On page 115. We still see the same thing, that there is a name of a Guti king and it is called Tirakan. As we can see, Tiragan is also described in the Encyclopedia British. So there is no mistake that existed. The Gut ruler has existed, and he is the last of the year 2130, loses power by defeating Uruk. And this is the end of the Gut dynasty. On page 127 we see that the box is mentioned in the Chronicles and in the Southern Chronicles. There are them as Guti, which reinforces the claim that Guti and Kuti are really the same and is just a different recording or different ways of recording. I see that the Tyres are an Indo-European people. We translate the German text and understand that the Guts have white skin and blonde hair and even blue eyes. As we will see, this is not for everyone, but they are all with light skin. And they are of a European race. Once again, we see that Guti are with light skin, so there is no mistake. Europeans are Guti. We see that according to the book. They are Shubaro and are also Indo-Europeans as well as the Kuti. The Hurrians or the Hurry are an important part in the Mahabharata epic, as well as Dr. Shopov mentions. Namely, he claims that the Hurrians is actually the ruler's Kuru tribe in the Mahabharata that loses the war, and some of the allies are their Baliki, which was mentioned in the video Ancient Bulgaria. To convince ourselves of the Huts, or Shubaru, we will look for a little other study by the Zest Gelb of the University of Chicago, Illinois. The screenplay on the screen is shown, and we see that they have light skin and have been mistaken with the Armenians because they are in such a territory. It is a fact that the Sumerian slaves were called bright, in the sense of light-haired. Does not necessarily mean that they were blonde. They could easily be called because they were a little brighter in the skin color than the Babylonians. We also see that they are there since 3000 years BC. We return to the book about Mesopotamian peoples. We see that according to the book, the Guti have light skin and some may be blonde-haired. And as they know, they burn in the strong sun as there in Sumer, Mesopotamia, and therefore they were bad slaves. We see the names of Guti rulers such as Yakulaba, Ushpia, and Kikia. It is appropriate to note that Ushpia can also be read as Uspia, and this is the word for success in Bulgarian. the kika hairstyle known in ancient times even by Herodotus, and is worn by Thracians and Bulgarian soldiers, by the Prince of Heri, and the statue of this hair, namely, the head with the head, and for the name Yakulaba, we can note that the prefix is Yako, the word strong. We also have a mention all are and is related to the tablets of Kirkuk, Paris 1926. Here's what is for Gudea on Wikipedia. And we see in the statue the ruler of Gudea and Guti. As it became clear, the stone may be black, but the ruler had light skin European race. Ruled from 2144 to 2124 BC. And here is Sargon first on Wikipedia. He ruled from 2334 to 2779 BC. Therefore some information about the dating is not true. But I do not know what. In my opinion, Sargon ruled to 3800 BC and was then the Guti dynasty. But let's leave these numbers to scientists to clarify. The history of Emperor Constantine mentions Kutuguri. In the history of Byzantium from Warren we see about the Kutuguri, the Bulgarians and the Huns. But notice Huns is a lowercase letter means that it is not a name but a collective name, or in common, therefore we will translate the Latin. From the translation we understand that the Kuturias are a relative of the Huns and have attacked the poorly fortified Constantinople, as well as that Bulgarians and all nomadic peoples like the Huns were not affected as much by the plague as it happened by the Roman Empire, called Byzantium here. It is important to note that it is actually known that the Kuchuguri, Kuchi Bulgar, are either the same or related tribes, and are certainly related to the Utuguri, for which it later. Here we see that the Kuturias, according to Procopius, replace the Goths, namely occupy their place in Thrace, which tells us that they are different and are not Goths. This is important for us to continue with the study. They are also found in other books about Rome and Byzantium, but we will not dwell on them. We can summarize that there are a lot of mention of the Kuturias and the Kutuguri, as well as the Utugas. So it cannot be said that they were gone. Let's look at Gerhard Klickler, professor linguist, who will prove to us something extraordinary, and this is the origin of Goths and the Germans. His Wikipedia is on screen. This is his site and proves that Goths is Guti, and accordingly the Goths are the guts of Mesopotamia. Of course, it may be wrong, but we know it's actually true. We have Geti in northern Bulgaria that have been inhabited and for which Jordan Anerfila writes the alphabet and baptizes them. Also, Goths and Geti is the same tribe renamed by Emperor Valerian, which the Germans still do not accept that them roots are Bulgarian. This can be seen on the Wikipedia website for genes. Watch the videos shown. To summarize that, Guti are Kuti, also Goths, and Geti, as well as Kutuguri, Kutriguri, Kuchi Bulgar, and are related to the Utugas that were mentioned by Herodotus. Also, the Kurds are now called Kurds are related even genetically and historically with the Bulgarians. They are all Bulgarians and a white light skin. Here are some people known by India who are YouTuberi. We have Mohan right to the left. To the right of it is written both his name, and the one below is Harry Shotta. You can see the big and long noses, and the one on the right we have a naked black head like in the next slide. Notice these Sumerians have hairless heads and long and large noses and are said to be black and head, just like those shown by India a while ago. We use the study of Professor Peter Ravesh of Universitas in Nebraska-Lincoln for the Sumerian, Dravid and Urals languages and their closeness. As you can see on the screen, there is also a small photo of Professor Peter Raveza of Universitas in Nebraska-Lincoln, Peter Ravesh is an expert in computer linguistics, databases, bioinformatics and geoinformatics. He is the author of Introduction to Databases. From Biological to Spatial Time. It turns out that instead of being a language isolate, the Sumerian is actually a combination of at least two basic language families. In this article, we identified the Dravid and Urals, and in particular the Proto-Tamil and Protonga, respectively within these two language families, as the main participants in the development of the Sumerian. It cannot be ruled out at the moment that a third language, which has not yet been identified, has also contributed to the Sumerian. It seems that the great difficulty in classifying the Sumerian language was not its isolation, but its various relationships with several other languages. There is still a lot of work to do. After it was Aristotle to see the Wikipedia page for him. He is an ancient Greek philosopher and scientist, one of the greatest geniuses of antiquity, and is called the father of science, a student of Plato and Alexander the Great teacher. Aristotle is among the few personalities in history who have explored almost every topic available for their era. Science, he studies anatomy, astronomy, geography, geology, zoology, meteorology and physics. This is his book. The title page is not very artistic. But let's not forget that he is a scientist. We see physics, metaphysics and many things. Facts about hair types. Straight and curly. The dry is firm. And animals with many moisture is straight hair, because in these hair, moisture moves like a jet, not drops. For this reason, the Scythians on the Black Sea and the Thracians have straight hair, because both they and the air around them are moist, while the Ethiopians and the men in the hot countries have curly hair, because they and the air around them are dry. We see clearly his curly hair on the dark-skinned Nubia, as expected from the data we have from Aristotle. Of course, it is not necessary to be exactly such curly hair, but it is enough to be curly, unlike people with European genetics who do not have one from South Africa. We see the curly hair and a Semitic long and crooked nose at Ashurbanipal fresco. It is clearly seen shown with red. Again, Ashurbanipal and Drup from Assyria, the same Semitic and dark-skinned features, namely curly hair and a long Semitic nose. Again, the features of a dark-skinned South Africa and Semitic too. We see the nose and curly hair, which is also dated 865 BC. This is Neo-Assyria. This one is similar, but the nose is a little more difficult to see that it is Semitic. Let's see the next screen. We also see his curly hair on his beard because he has a hat, and we can't see the hair, where it will be clear to us. And we see from the Encyclopaedia Britannica how Akkad is assigned to the Semites. But we also know about their dark-skinned genes because of curly hair, as we can see from Encyclopedia. Urartu is inherited by a new name in the 6th century BC, and this is Armenia. This means that they are Armenians. And that's what we know about the Sumerians. As you can see, it is quite complicated and many peoples. But the surprises turned out to be many. Probably, Shubaro will turn out to be people made. Siberia sounds quite close. We also realize that the language of the Sumerians with the black heads and large noses spoke a language influenced by the Finnish languages. And this could mean that the Huns were there too. Also, kuti, curtains, and kuchi are the same, and in the first part we mentioned from the exploration of the Armenian that they were like dogs, because they were associated with dogs. And the kuti are definitely Bulgarians, and that is why they settled in Bulgaria.